where to look.
Yeah. So, Shaun Devine, thank you for joining me on NRL Fans WA.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Like I said, it's good to have some old school rugby league fans interested in rugby league still over there in the great state of WA.
Oh, mate, there's plenty, and it's gaining more interest over here. I don't know if you would have seen the stats from the doubleheader they had over here last year. It was 45,000 people.
Yeah.
And it was great. You know, the Origins have been sellouts.
Yep.
So you know, and it just shows more people want rugby league in Perth. They're happy to support their own teams, but they want to support. They just want to go to a game every weekend or every second weekend. You know.
Yeah, and WA loves their sport. Doesn't matter what sport it is. You find that all different codes play big games in WA.
Yeah,
because they're passionate about their sport. So, you know, for me, it just makes sense. You know, I remember back then there were no TV right deals. You know, the WA had to get us, Western Reds had to get us all a job. I worked at Liquorland for a little while and went to training, and you know, there wasn't all this money that there is now. We had to pay for the opposition teams 3 grades to fly over, accommodation. It was a massive expense. And I think back then our average crowd was still over 10, 11,000. And I think if you look at the same time, I think Manly were averaging about 5,000.
Yeah.
So we're playing on the whacker. We were playing on a field that's not purpose built for rugby league.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And we're still pulling those crowds.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think that's the big thing. You know, we've got Optus Stadium that they use at the moment, which is going to be a bit hard to use during the AFL season as well, because they have a game there every weekend. But we've got HBF Park, which was, I think it was Perth Oval back in the day when you would have been over here. Yeah, so that's purposely rectangle stadium. Actually. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we played Canterbury there. Because the Glory, I think, were playing out of there at the time.
Yeah, they still are. But the government's like upgraded it majorly. They had the Western Force still play out of there. The Perth Glory still play out of there. I think it holds. I think it's around about 18 to 20,000 people now.
Perfect.
So it's exactly perfect. You know, if we can get 10 to 15,000 there for a game, you know, the stadium doesn't look like the Sydney games at the moment, where you get a 80,000 seat stadium and there's only 20,000 people there. It looks pretty empty.
I think if you look at the schedule, you could pick the games that you're going to probably average between 12 to 20,000, and any that you think are going to be blockbusters. When you're playing a top 4 team, I'm sure you could find a schedule there where you could slot it in off the stadium there. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard.
What's your thoughts on Perth possibly joining with the Bears?
Yeah, I've heard that thrown around, and I think if that becomes the only option, I think it's a great idea, because I think Perth are very well funded. North Sydney, very well funded. I know they've got a lot of leagues clubs. I think they've got Seagulls up here. I think they've just acquired another leagues club up here. I think you could have the best of both worlds here. You could probably play half your home games in Perth and pack the joint. And I think your away games and your other home games, if you played somewhere, maybe Gosford or whatever North's call home, could work as well.
Yeah. Well, I remember the deal when it came out. They only wanted as a handful of home games. It was 3, maybe 4 home games a year over there. But they wanted to play their traditional rival Manly at North Sydney Oval. That was their main sticking point, was North Sydney Oval, Manly. I don't see why anyone wouldn't want to jump on that board. From my point of view, with joining North Sydney, is that the Perth team then has a fan basis over East. Whereas at the moment they wouldn't have many. If it was just the Perth team, they wouldn't have any fans over there.
Yeah, it does make sense, and I think you could rival clubs such as the Broncos, who I think have got the highest membership in the league. I think the WA Bears, whatever they call themselves, that's a real possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the NRL possibly going with PNG because of the federal government sort of backing it. Me personally, I can't see it working. I've got a couple of mates that are from PNG, and they said that you couldn't guarantee the safety of the players for one. It's too corrupt over there is another one. If they're going to put a team in PNG and then base them out of Cairns, what's the point?
It's very dangerous letting politics get involved in a sport anyway. So if the decision's made purely on politics, I don't think that's healthy for the NRL. I think the NRL need to be smart. Another live game every second week in WA. Adds to next time the negotiations come up with TV rights, it's going to add millions of dollars to those negotiations. It becomes a truly national game. And, and any rubbish where players have got to travel. How do the AFL do it? And how do they do it so well?
Yeah.
And we loved it. We loved it. I loved getting on a plane and travelling over the East Coast. And if you asked any team coming over to visit us in WA, they loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. I was looking at when people would say that argument to me, I would say to them, when Melbourne fly to play the North Queensland Cowboys, it's the same amount of time as it is to fly over to Perth.
So 100%. So that if they're going to come up with that, that's rubbish. That's an excuse. That's not a reason. It's an excuse.
Yeah, absolutely. I just jump into your career. I know it's a bit of a short career with the rugby league side of things, but you debut in 1990 for the Magpies, Western Suburbs Magpies, mate. How was that? How was that for you? Like, obviously, growing up in Sydney and stuff like that, playing for Western Suburbs.
I was a local junior there at Campbelltown, so it was a big buzz. I was 19 at the time, and funnily enough, I only had a beer probably 3 weeks ago with Dale Shearer, and we've become good mates, and that's who I made my debut against. It was a big buzz. I only played 2 games that year. I was pretty green. I played the game because I loved it. I didn't train very hard. Anyone that knows me will say I was a much better clubman than I probably was footballer. I organised the end-of-season trips and the Red Faces nights and the sponsors' days. And I just love being around the boys. It probably cost me a marriage, but anyway, that's another story. And then the move to Perth was obviously Peter Mulholland, and Gordon Allen was the CEO of the Western Reds, was the CEO of West Magpies at the time. Went to Perth, and I was lucky enough to have been the second player signed, and I love my 3 years over there. I actually wish I didn't get a bit nervous with it all folding and whatever, and rush back to the East Coast. A lot of players have had successful businesses. They stayed in Perth. Timmy Horan, who else over there? Chris Dever, who's been involved with the WA Rugby League over there for many, many, many years, and the North Beach Club. Shane Barrett, a lot of guys, Corin Ridding, they all stayed there, and they would never come back. Yeah.
Well, I've got a bit of a thing from another former teammate of yours that still lives over here. He asked me to ask you about your childhood experience of playing against him, playing against sheep.
Oh, I forgot about Matty Fuller. You know what? You'll have to make sure he watches this. He'll be dirty. I forgot about him. We under 13s, under 14s, we were rivals the whole time. And it's funny how both of our careers, we kicked on after the Reds and played a bit and went back to West Magpies and England, I think. But, mate, probably if you're going to war, you'd want that bloke standing behind you. Actually, he wouldn't let you stand behind you. He'd stand in front of you. He'd take the bullets. Absolute champion guy. You've only got to ask him. But he's done wonderful things over in Perth, especially with telethon and raising money. And he's a true. He'd probably say he's West Australian.
Yeah, pretty much is. Yeah, his young boy plays soccer over here and stuff like that as well.
I think he's gone to France. I think he's making headway. Some good moves over in France.
That's right. Boys. Yeah, that's right. I did see that. Matty Fuller's got his own gym and stuff like that as well. So, he's doing pretty well for himself. So,
well, he's always loved mirrors. So, that was probably the right career choice for him.
Yeah, that's it. when you were at the Reds though, mate, you when you're obviously hearing all the talk about the team going under, all that sort of stuff. What were your like initial thoughts about it all?
Mate, I'll be totally honest. We sort of felt like we were all blindsided. We had I don't know what was going on behind the scenes or if I was left out, but most guys I talked to, we were ready to go to presentation night.
Yeah.
And I can't recall exactly whether it was the week of presentation night or whatever, but we just got told it's over. No presentation night, no Western Reds. You've all got to go and find your own way back to whatever clubs you want to play for. And yeah, it's done and dusted. It left a bit of a taste in a lot of players' mouths, but yeah, it was pretty abrupt. My memory was.
Yeah, okay. You were obviously part of the Reds when they went into the Super League with the whole ARL Super League battle. How was that for you as well?
That still causes arguments. I think people are a little bit naive when you look at the game now. That it was heading in that direction. And I say to a lot of people, if someone sat you down, if you're a plumber or electrician or you work behind a bar, and someone said, "Listen, I want to offer you another job with another organisation. We're going to triple, quadruple, whatever your salary. We're going to give your whole family private health insurance. We're going to give you 50% of the prize money. Any jerseys sold with your number and name on the back, you'll get 55% royalties. What are you going to do?" And then when they explain to you, this is the direction the game's heading, and it did head that way, so they were correct. Yeah. Why wouldn't you go?
Yeah, exactly.
Who doesn't want to play professional sport for a living?
Yeah, exactly. And I talked to a few of the guys that went through that same sort of era, and they I said to them, it made the game go from a semi-professional, you're getting paid to play, but you still had your daytime jobs and all that sort of stuff, to that was your full-time job then. You were getting paid enough where you didn't have to go to work. And these guys that are the current crop of players that are playing now are benefiting from that Super League war because they don't have to go to get jobs. They get paid handsomely enough as it is.
Well, it's pretty fair. I'm not too sure what the figures were, but back then, the State of Origin players were getting bugger all, and the game was generating millions and millions and millions of dollars, and the product was getting a tiny piece of the pie. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, the players all stood up for each other, both sides, Super League and ARL at the time, and supported each other, and the players got their fair piece of the pie. I get a bit disappointed when I see blokes arguing about more and more and more. Like, we only wanted a piece of the pie. We didn't want the whole lot.
Yeah.
We just wanted our fair share of the pie. And that brings me on to another point. Expansion. Do we have enough players at that level? Well, I don't think we need to have every team have a team of superstars. I think it's great for the game that you have. I was a fringe player. Throw some fringe players in there. You know what I mean? And watch them develop. And I think a team full of superstars is not good for the game.
Yeah, I think the NRL need to look at their product when it comes to these new teams that were coming in. They need to look at the salary cap exemptions. Because the new club doesn't need a whole bunch of new star players, but they need one or two marquee players. Like when you guys had MG and
Brad Mackay.
Those are the marquee guys. So the club spent more money on them to get them here. So the AFL did it with when Gold Coast came in. Gary Ablett was paid a stupid amount of money to go leave Geelong, where his dad had played pretty much all of his career. He went up there and performed well. And the other thing I think the AFL or NRL, need to look at is the draft system. So these guys that are sitting in the reserve grade for the Penrith or West Tigers and all these sort of that can't get into the first grade side. When a new club comes in, they can go, well, hang on, we need that sort of player. Come over here.
Yeah, when that draft was first thrown around back in, I think, was it 92 or 93? I think it was first thrown around, and the players objected to it because we still had jobs.
Yeah.
We still had families and jobs in our local area or whoever we were playing for at the time, and the draft system seemed a bit unfair. But 20 odd years have gone by now, and it's a professional sport. You tell me that minors, think about that when they go away for 2 weeks at a time or a month at a time away from their families and go and bust their backsides to earn a few dollars that rugby league players can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I just think, the draft system, it gives the younger guys that are in that fringe area, it gives them an opportunity to go and play at the first grade club. Whereas they probably wouldn't if they're sitting behind. If you're a halfback, for example, in the Penrith system, you've got absolutely no chance of getting through at the moment.
And it's you want to do something for grassroots football, then having a team of superstars won't work because they don't go back after having a taste and filter back through the grassroots system. Where your fringe players get a taste of playing top level rugby league, they might not get picked the next week. They'll go back to the local team or they'll go back to the state league team, and it all filters. It all filters across grassroots football, and everyone's standards lift. And that's when you get the superstars. You develop superstars by doing that.
Yeah, no, that's it. Absolutely. I do have another couple of questions from another former player of yours.
I get nervous when I hear this.
It's from the great MG. He asked me to ask you about the South African tour.
That was a really defining moment for us because blokes come together from all over the East Coast, and some of the boys like Jared Miller. There's some WA boys there as well. And that was our first time to go away on, that was probably December 94. And it was 1 week. It was 3 games of rugby league in a week. Plenty of beers. We took it seriously, but Peter Mulholland, rest in peace, he wanted us to just bond and come together as mates, and we did. We were a really tight bunch of blokes over there because we only had each other. We left all our families behind. And that was a really good trip. A bit scary. You had to relinquish your weapons at the front door when you went into a nightclub. Lucky we didn't have any. But yeah, it was a good trip. Good trip.
Yeah. The other question he asked me to ask you was how was the Sunday sessions at the old Leaderville?
Those days will never happen again, unfortunately. When I left Perth, it was either go back to Campbelltown or I went to the Gold Coast for a holiday, and I never left the Gold Coast. So I've been managing pubs and clubs since then. And the old Leaderville days was responsible service of alcohol and all that. Those days are gone because no one's responsible for their own actions anymore. You know what I mean? So jumping on tables and flamethrowers on the roof and flying foxes. They were because we used to play on Friday nights. We had the best time over in Perth because our home games were Friday nights. Saturdays we'd probably go to races. Sundays was the Leaderville, and Mondays we'd all be searching for Julian O'Neill.
Oh no! Yeah. I heard he's a bit of a rambunctious one.
Mate, he is actually a lovely, lovely bloke. Just a quick short story. When we went to Bali, there was a guy called Troy Bellamy, and he hired a motorbike. And we thought he knew how to ride the motorbike. This was in Thailand. And he jumped on the motorbike and he let the clutch out, and away he went, and he was off. And we turned up at the accommodation. They had a security guards box in the middle of in and out.
Yeah.
And next thing, this motorbike's wrecked up against the security box, and belly's blowing up. And I said, mate, what happened? He said, Devo, you didn't tell me where the brakes were. Anyway, the silly bugger handed his passport in to hire the bike. So they wouldn't give it back. They wouldn't give it back unless thousands of dollars were paid. And you know what? Julian O'Neill did not hesitate. Hand straight in the pocket. His belly, was only a finished type bloke. He didn't get the big bucks.
Yeah.
And Julian, first bloke, put his hand in his pocket and say, mate, I'll deal with this. It's all good. Nice. Yeah, good bloke. He got a lot of bad rap to him when he had a drink, but he was a natural athlete.
Yeah.
And a good bloke to be around. Good bloke to be around.
Yeah, well, as you can see, I'm a Broncos supporter, so Julian O'Neill just brings back a lot of great memories for me, playing for those early 90s Broncos teams.
Mate, he was a natural athlete. You'd see him in the weights room. If the weights trainer was at the southern end of the weights room, he'd be at the northern end and they'd work clockwise. Julian would always be at the opposite end, but he just had an athlete's body and was gifted.
Yeah.
Natural talent.
He was great to watch, but yeah, I mean, you would have played with so many people that are so naturally gifted and just absolute stars, but just probably never got the recognition that they deserve.
Mate, and most of them took my position, but I don't have a bad thing to say about them because they were lovely blokes and just good team players.
Yeah. While you were in Perth, mate, you also played for the Rockingham Sharks.
They were Rockingham Raiders back then.
Oh, Raiders were they?
Yeah, okay. We were based out of the Leisure Inn down there.
Yeah, okay.
So that was our home base. Can't remember the publican's name that helped. I should remember, but anyway, yeah, I caught up with a few people down there at the Rockingham Sharks 2 years ago. I came over from State of Origin and went down to the Rockingham Sharks and watched the game. It was great. Yeah, Stephen Fielding, and he was the coach back then. I think his brother Rod was a referee. I used to give him heaps.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, cool. How did you like playing in the local competition back then?
I think you'd have to look at the stats, but I think maybe 20 plus players came over from the East Coast in '94, 1 year early to try and, we were in between clubs and to try and help grow the game over there. And it was a very healthy competition we had at Rockingham. Our hooker was Sid Uri.
Yeah, right.
1995, he plays for the Auckland Warriors and plays for New Zealand.
Yeah.
We had another bloke, Kerry Parado, who was a great player. I loved it. The only thing I didn't like is they had to give me a job and I was bouncing on the door at the Leisure Inn, weighing 79 kilos. So I was laughing at me as I used to walk in.
Yep, I bet, mate. I bet.
A lot of big Kiwi boys down there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. There's still a lot down there. So, with your career, mate, is there anything that you've taken out of your career that's made you into a better husband, father, and person that you are?
I developed a lot of good relationships. I'm still very good friends with a bloke called Chris Ryan, who used to have the long blonde hair. All the players that were jealous of him would like to be happy to know now that he's bald as a badger. But still fit as a fiddle. Matty Guy's over here on the Gold Coast doing really well. Tahi Rahana's over here on the Gold Coast. David Boyd's over here on the Gold Coast. Blokes like Ricky Taylor are up in Brisbane. Jeff Doyle's up in Brisbane, Sunshine Coast. So those lifelong friendships are what I've taken out of it. But, good memories. Well, I probably left rugby league with 3 framed jerseys and not $1 in the bank. Would not change a thing.
No, that's the way. Have you got any advice that you'd give to yourself when you're first coming up through the system that you've sort of taken through life now? Is there anything that you'd pass on to yourself?
Yeah, whatever you want to do, give 110%. Yeah. I just coasted through probably 70-75%. I got 9 years out of the game, but only 66 A-grade games. So as I said, I was probably more of a fringe player and a good bloke around the club, but I applied myself a bit more.
Yeah.
I could have maybe gone to England. I could have done a bit more with rugby league and probably got a bit more out of it. But no regrets. But that's what I say to my kids now. It doesn't matter whether you're a traffic controller or a garbologist or, engineer. Just whatever you do, try and be the best at it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Shit, I forgot my next question.
I was just about to say, I'm pretty sure, because I saw David Boyd last Sunday, and we're due to organise, we try and have a reunion every 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's 30 years next year. You have to do the math.
Okay.
If we started in 95, 20 years would be 24.
Yes.
So maybe if there's some NRL games being played over there again next year, we might be able to sort something out.
There's the Dolphins versus the Roosters is the only game that's over here, I think.
Next year?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's keep talking and let's try and get something happening.
And that's at HBF Park as well.
Oh, beautiful. I'm going to tell you a funny story. When we had the reunion there 2 years ago, Matty Fuller took us to a restaurant in Leederville that has a lot of photos of a lot of celebrities in there. And he is a celebrity over there. He does his radio work and everything he does for charity. But we got the owner to take the photo down off the wall before Matty Fuller, Sheep, had arrived. And we watched Sheepy walk in, and he looked straight up on the wall and saw the photo was missing. Started banging his hand on the counter at the front desk, wanting to know where his photo was because he specifically picked that restaurant.
Yeah.
So all the boys could see his photo up on the wall.
Oh, you got him good. Yeah, nice.
Beauty.
That's the way. Yeah, no, that'd be cool to see you guys over here. Having that reunion.
Let's keep talking and let's try and get something organised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to try help you guys get it all sorted. And I don't have many of the old Western Reds numbers and stuff like that, but I've got a couple. So, I just that's what I try to do, mate. Is I just try to find contacts that I can, and do the interviews like this so I can promote the game. People like yourself can share your stories of your game and impart your wisdom onto the people here in Perth, and the rest of Australia, what it's like to live and play in Perth.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find one of us has got anything bad to say, and I think you'll find all of us are saying they're mad if they don't pick WA as the next team, the next franchise. Yeah. And in saying that with 18 teams, if they're smart, they'd have 2 9-a-side conferences.
Yep.
Let the two conferences play home and away round. Combine the 2 conferences for one round. I think that ends up being 25 games, and then you've got even and fair competition.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. That's not a bad idea of doing it. Because I look at the moment. Yeah. Sorry.
I was going to say at the moment, some teams playing top 4 teams twice, playing them within 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. It's definitely a little bit lopsided at times. I can see why some teams complain about the draw.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how the draw works sometimes. Like the sort of certain rounds, like Anzac round or the Easter round, certain teams are going to play those games. The traditional those games. You sort of pencil them in. You go work backwards and go forwards in the sense of you should be playing every team once at least, and then if there's the extra rounds after those teams, that's when you start to just pull them out of a hat, I guess, and say, Brisbane's playing. Oh, they're playing Manly this week, or whoever it is. I just don't think.
Sorry.
Yeah, go. Sorry.
It's only do a little bit of homework for you before we catch up next. But if you divide 18, 2 9-a-side comps, they play each everyone one home and away round. They have 2 byes, and then at the end they play the opposition competition once. I think you get 25 games, which is what they get now. Then you have 2 conferences grand finals and semis, and then you have like a Super League grand final. The winner of both conferences play each other, and then more TV rights, more money for the game.
Yeah, that'd draw so much more money, wouldn't it? Like they would, huge. Yeah. Huge. Just with your sporting career, mate, or what you've gone through in your life. Have you got any advice to young people over here in Perth that are, not necessarily wanting to be sports stars, but just they're wanting to achieve the best they can?
I think it's important, and we all say this: make sure you're having fun. If your kids aren't having fun, try and steer them in another direction. Put a cricket bat in their hand, or a tennis racket, or a golf club, or something. You know what I mean? Give your kids all opportunities, and if they're having fun, just try and get the right coaches for them. Coaches are very important. Get the right coaches for them, and just cross your fingers and support your kids. You know what I mean? Especially as you start getting older. And they, my kids are 31, 29, 26 now, and they don't hang with that as much as they used to. But if you support them, they do remember that support, and they do end up coming back and looking after the old fella later on in life.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. What are you doing with yourself these days, mate? You mentioned before that you were running a few pubs and clubs and stuff like that. What are you doing with yourself?
Yeah, I ran the Southport Rugby League Club when I not run it. I was one of the two ICs there when I first came over in '98, and then I moved on to Surfers Paradise RSL. That was recent. The last couple of years, I've been working for two online bookies, ZBet and Razoo. So one of the many racing apps you can have, hunting apps you can have out there these days. It just got very hard in hospitality these days. It's not the same. Everyone orders with a QR code. No one knows what meal you ordered. No one knows what drink you're drinking. No one after COVID, no one wanted to go back to work because they're all getting $750 a week staying at home.
Yeah.
It was a bit tough. So I got into hospitality and loving life at the moment. I'm at the cable wakeboard park here in the Gold Coast at the moment with my grandson and daughter.
Yep.
And I think I'm going to be sore tomorrow. But loving life.
No, that's it, mate. That's beautiful. Just before we go, mate, have you got any words for the people of WA?
Yeah, hang in there. Get behind anyone that's pushing the WA agenda for the 18th team. Get behind them because it just makes sense. And I know we live in a world these days where we don't know if up still means up and down still means down. But it just makes sense. You want a bit national competition, you have to be national. You want more money for TV rights, you want another live game, go to another time zone. Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, that's all I've got for you today. But Shaun Devine, thank you for joining me on NRL Fans WA. I really appreciate you giving me your time, mate. And hopefully we'll keep in contact. And when you come over next, we'll catch up for a beer.
We definitely will. I'm the admin man from the Western Reds Facebook group, so I'll include you and keep you up to date. Let's get our backsides over there and have a 30-year reunion.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Beautiful. Thank you very much, mate. You have a good day.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.
See you, mate.